authors, I'm Joanne Morrell, children's and young adult fiction writer and author of short non-fiction for authors. Thanks for joining me for the Hybrid Author podcast, sharing interviews from industry professionals to help you forge a career as a hybrid author, both independently and traditionally publishing your books. You can get the show notes for each episode and sign up for your free author pass over at the Hybrid Author website to discover your writing process, get tips on how to publish productively, and get comfortable promoting your books at www.hybridauthor.com.au. Let's crack on with the episode.
Hello, authors! I hope you're all keeping well in whatever part of the world you reside and listen to the podcast in. Today is a loner-sode from me, and I'm reflecting lessons learned in 2024 and chatting how to thrive in 2025. So unlike last lessons learned, where I split up categories into, writing projects, money, etc., and whether I hit goals I set, I have categorized my year into the title. I'll chat on lessons learned and then on how to thrive in 2025, which will reveal my focus areas. So there's no author adventure segment this week, just a short clip for our longtime sponsor of the podcast, Thorn Creative. So if it's your goal to get an author website up and running this year, look no further than Thorn Creative. They make the process and end result something you'll cherish and can't imagine how you survive so long without an absolutely beautiful website made by Thorn Creative.
Thorn Creative, where beautiful websites for authors are brought to life. No matter what stage you're at with your writing, your stories deserve a dedicated space to shine. Whether you're just starting out or have a bookshelf full of bestsellers, your website is the hub of your author business, binding everything you and your books offer together. Thorn Creative can nurture all aspects of redesigning your old site or start afresh from the initial design. They can provide ongoing hosting and maintenance to marketing your books online, saving you time, money, and stress trying to wrangle your site yourself. An author website built by Thorn Creative can easily direct readers to your favorite retailers, your publisher, or simply set you up to sell to them direct. The options are endless. Thorn Creative have worked with many authors across all genres and know what goes into good, functional working author websites to sell books. Head on over to thorncreative.com.au/websites for authors to read author and publisher testimonials and to see what they offer and some of the sites they've created.
Lessons learned in 2024. It's been a big year for me, trying new things, putting myself out there more than ever, facing fears and overcoming roadblocks in my writing career. So we'll start with what didn't work and end on a happy note with what did. So the trials, what didn't work in 2024? So at the start of 2024 in January, I went about setting up a freelance writing workshop. And this was called the 4 documents you need to set up your freelance writing business for success. Now, I made these workshops at Edith Cowan University, which is the university that I studied writing at. And they've got a couple of campuses, and I booked rooms in each, and I undertook the workshop on my own. This was an event that I put out myself. I put it together, I found the venue, promoted it, and went about getting materials and things like that. There was, sadly and embarrassingly and also heartbreakingly, I had no attendees show up for either workshop. So this was a bit of a blow because, it was the very beginning of 2024. You're fresh and excited and brimming with new ideas to execute the year ahead, and you try a lot and you put your time and effort into something and nothing happens, so it can just feel a bit lackluster as well. I remember, I don't know if it was the year before or one of the years, again an event that I tried to do was like a webinar online, and I think it was one of these topics as well, and I had a couple people book in, but nobody actually showed for it. And it was just a free kind of half an hour webinar. And you just feel like it's it. You're kind of just sitting there waiting for people and it's just like, no one's coming. And so it's a little bit crap. But I kind of just, lessons learned, looking back on this event, I believe it to be because I didn't allow enough promotion for it. I think that really to give an event a good chance of succeeding and for enough people to hear about it, make plans to come, you need about 2 to 3 months. Definitely is sufficient. That's where planning the year before, even mid-year, about what you're doing the year later is always best. And it's something that I've definitely learned in 2024, being organised, more planning for like the year ahead, because that things book out and people need notification these days. Life is busy. And I think I only actually gave the event about 2 to 3 weeks and not even for the promotion. So I really, really feel that's what let me down. The other trial was a Kickstarter campaign that I ran probably about mid-year. That was, I had some big ideas about making my women's fiction book, The Writer, the Hairdresser and the Nurse by Zara Ellen, immersive experience. And this was through offering book bundles, which included stemless wine glasses and acacia wooden platter boards and silver polished Paris cheese knives with my book. So the thought process around this was that the reader or readers, such as groups, or book clubs, could recreate the Pinot and platter nights that my characters, Donna, Agnes and Christy, have in the book to hash out, their troubles. But I set my goal at my target at $10,000. The campaign ran for 30 days and I didn't hit anywhere near it really. And this once again is, I believe, not enough promotion. I did not promote before the Kickstarter went live, and that's something that they talk about. Again, companies, 2 to 3 months, not the pre-orders, but the pre-promotion and things is massive, absolutely massive. And I think I did when the campaign launched, I did about 2 weeks worth during it and a little after. I also believe it was my mindset that let me down. I felt like I kind of gave up before I even begun. It was really sort of difficult putting myself out in this capacity of asking people to back this project. Although, you're not asking for money for nothing. It's really just to help get ideas off the ground. And I love the concept of Kickstarter and it absolutely works for a lot of people. But in this instance, it definitely didn't work for me. I think I also confused a lot of people around what I was asking them. I found a lot of people didn't actually understand what Kickstarter was. They found it hard to navigate and they were very interested in the women's fiction book, but not so much on the stuff that was coming with it, the bundles, and maybe I should have split everything up as an option. There could have been different ways of doing it, but because I was running the Kickstarter, obviously they could only buy through that. But I was saying things like, I'm going to have a book launch, so if you don't want the bundles, you can just get the book after that. So I was effectively saying two things to people. So it's not a case of, back the Kickstarter and get the book, and it was, you could still get the book a month later, which I think kind of counteracts the point of that. I also think my $10,000 goal target was a little high, but to be honest, I didn't really see the point in putting up a low amount. I put up what I needed to get those bundles off the ground. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing them. All the little bits were quite expensive. They were quality products. And, I'd already paid out for the book. That wasn't what it was about. But I wasn't going to put up money up front for these bundles, these glasses and the platter boards and things if no one wanted them, because, I wasn't passionate about that. So I didn't want to have a room full of glasses and boards. And, as it stands, I still do have stock left over, and I'm trying to sort of repurpose them in different ways, and so we'll see if that happens. Not lots, but some. So that was definitely a trial, and probably quite a big one. There is a triumph in there too, and I also have that on the triumphs list. Another trial was no distribution for my women's fiction books because of printing local. So this time round, I printed with a local printing company to make my women's fiction book, The Writer, the Hairdresser and the Nurse by Zara Ellen, and it was all a great experience, which I talk about in the triumphs, but I got paid and got the books printed, and I have no distribution channel. So my other non-fiction books and books that I've in another children's fiction book in the past that I made through Amazon. As soon as you make these books, there is a distribution channel through Ingram Spark, through Amazon, through these print-on-demand services. So I've been used to that and not having to really think about how else I'm going to get it out there. So I effectively felt I had to make a second product in terms of the print book through Amazon, and I'm finding I don't have to, and it's all been a bit of a learning curve. It's not a regret, but yeah, again, it's another experience that I'm able to advise people on, that there's a lot more to it that you have to think about. The trial was a market stall I done in November, and I actually always said to myself I wouldn't do markets, but I thought I'd give this one a go, as it's quite a huge event in Perth, Western Australia, where I live. But the space that you get for selling, it's quite costly, but there was obviously a lot of people, a lot of traffic throughout the day. It was a long day. I felt a bit silly sort of standing there until I kind of got in the swing of things and was like chatting away to people, and pretty much broke even just about. So I made no profit on the day. Visibility might have been worth it for my book, and and it's not actually, the whole experience hasn't put me off markets. I am actually trying another markets in a couple of weeks, which is slightly smaller, so we'll see the difference with that, and obviously the space is a little bit cheaper too, and just see how it fares. But I'm not really sure. Some advice that I had around markets this year was that it's all well and good going, but are your target market there who want to buy what you're selling on the day? Are you reaching the right people? So again, it's all trial and error. It's all testing the waters. So that's the trials. So there was about 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of 4 major trials I had this year. But all of these, when I reflect on them all as a whole, they're actually all a triumph, because it was me putting myself out there, trying different things that I'd never tried before, that really put me out of my comfort zone. I've got to say, this year has 100% been uncomfortable as hell. I've really put myself out there center stage, and yeah, it feels some things have not worked, obviously, as I've just talked about. So let's talk about the things that did work, the triumphs. What worked for me this year? So this year I had numerous public speaking gigs. I attended my first literacy festival. That was in early March through the Shire of Harvey. It was the Australand Library, so I drove a couple of hours to be part of the festival and had my first session doing discovering roadblocks in writing. A small audience, but very intimate, and just loved the whole experience. I actually found, I was incredibly nervous, but I was very prepared, and that was what gets you through. But I find after speaking, I actually get massive energy. It's the same as the podcast. I after interviewing and stuff, I have bouncing energy, and then I sort of hit a wall. So these things don't take out energy from me, they actually give me energy, which is quite cool. So that was a real positive to kick off the year in the speaking gig. I appeared on 2 podcasts, Totally Lit and TBRM, and basically I was chatting about my work, library systems and hybrid authorship, and so that was fantastic. In May, I finished and printed out my women's fiction manuscript and began getting the book made into production, deciding to try and rid shipping costs and print locally, as I mentioned, which quality was top notch and the service was speedy, and there was something very, very exciting and magical having the books hand delivered to my door by the printer himself, and then by a friend as well, who I found out was the driver of the company. So that was really novel, and I'm glad I had that experience as well. These books are special editions now that I'm selling through my website, which can be author signed. You can't get them anywhere else. The other print products that are going to be sold via, Amazon and probably the third-party retailers, it's a different product. It's like a second edition. It's a kind of smaller size. So yeah, the ones that I've got have now become quite special, I think. So that's cool. I attended the Squibby Rottnest Writers Retreat in June, and that was a triumph because it's always inspiring to be around creatives, and it's always great going across to Rottnest. Weather was crap as usual, but I also had a bit of a revelation over there as to how much I've learned over the years, especially through the podcast, weekly episodes interviewing people on various aspects of like the industry and stuff. I felt like you don't know it all, of course not, or anything, but I just felt like I knew quite a bit when I was there. And I also realized that I definitely am venturing more into the women's fiction, the romance side, the adult writing, and I made a decision after that retreat to pull back from children's fiction. So, that's after what's been an amazing 7 years of attending events through Squibby West, being a part of Squibby, which is obviously a society of children's book writers and illustrators. I decided to step down. I was a volunteer part of the committee as newsletter editor and social media coordinator, and I'm no longer being quite involved in this area or with that organisation at this point. I still have aspirations for writing young adult fiction, and I had a book extensively critiqued over there by publisher and fellow peers, and I still plan on writing that, and it floats back to me often. I'm just not sure when. Perhaps after, the second in series of the women's fiction, but then it might be in my best interest to finish that series first, which is 4 books, and keep momentum going there. So the Kickstarter, yes, made it onto the triumphs list because, again, the marketing material that it helped to promote my book before the book launch. So effectively I didn't do any marketing for the Kickstarter, but then the Kickstarter worked as marketing for the book launch, which was happening, I don't know if it was the month after, it must have been, if that was June, and then I think it was July I had the book launch. So that was a bit of a longer promotion I did for it, and I definitely feel long promotion is absolute key to anything, and that's something I want to focus more on this year. So the book launch was for The Writer, the Hairdresser and the Nurse by Zara Ellen was an absolute roaring success. Again, in the week leading up to that, I had crippling fear, self-doubt of having to be up the front of a stage and speak for like an hour on stuff. Again, it's just out of my comfort zone. I just haven't done a lot of it. And it's you wearing your heart on your sleeve, putting yourself out there for others to judge. It's such a scary moment, but it was absolutely fantastic. And I just enjoyed it so much and received such positivity from it. And it was just an all-round amazing night. So, definitely put yourself out there. I'm if I can do it, anybody can bloody do it, I tell you. So that was a major triumph of mine. I sold a lot of books. It was a great celebration. Shout out to Writing WA for hosting the venue at the library, for hosting the launch, and also to Sasha Wasley, aka Ash Harrier, who launched the book officially for me. I didn't properly get to thank her, but Sasha, if you're listening, I owe you so much. Thank you so much for your valued interviewing skills, and still got a care package coming your way. And thank you again to everybody that came to the launch and supported me on that night. It was fantastic. Also, the feedback, this is another triumph, the feedback I'm now receiving for my women's fiction book. A lot of people are reaching out to me and saying how much they've enjoyed it, or, they couldn't put it down, or they've read it right to the end, which is really cool. And so, you just smile that you just, I'm really enjoying your book, and to get comments like you're such a great writer and stuff like that, because there was crickets the first time I self-published the junior fiction in my first year of uni, and I think that just speaks volumes. So the fact that people actually take the time to tell you they enjoyed the book gives you that boost of confidence as well. And so if you have read The Writer, the Hairdresser and the Nurse, please leave me a review on thehybridauthor.com/books, or the ebook is now up on Amazon. If you're able to write a review, that would be much appreciated to get the ball rolling, to let other people know, that's enjoyable. And I think reading a book for some is such an achievement. Whether it takes you a whole year to read a book, or however fast or slow you are, like actually getting to the end of something, even like it's like a writing project, even getting to the end of something is a bloody achievement in itself, no matter what happens after. But especially for reading, Yes, and I love that. It doesn't even matter that my book is getting shared around. It's not a case, people are passing it on to other people, and that's really cool. It's kind of like a word of mouth. So I'm super happy of that. That's another triumph for me. The City of Gosnells writing workshops that I conducted in November well and truly proved that I'd gotten over the fear of public speaking. So again, the writing events that I've done this year have been very intimate audiences. There's not been lots of people, but I don't think that mattered. Like, I was actually really excited for them. Also, you get a tiny bit nervous, but I just wanted to share my expertise, and if anything, I feel like I went overboard with the information, and maybe somehow I can kind of pare that back. But I just feel like I know so much, and I've got so much to share, especially from the podcast, which I pared back episodes. So again, I was speaking on discovering roadblocks in writing, and getting published as well, which I covered topics on traditional self-published, hybrid and AI publishing, which is going to be, quite a new thing coming into this year. And it will be interesting to watch how it plays out. Yeah, not too worried about it, to be honest. I think it's just going to be another option for everybody, and there's going to be a crowded marketplace. It's already like that. So we'll see what the outcome is. Last year and this year, I earned an income from my author business, my book business. Prior to that, a couple of years running, the business has been running at a loss, basically. So pretty happy that that's the case. It's on its way. And final triumph is I interviewed 50 guests for the podcast and put out 43 episodes, which is massive, absolutely massive. So when I count up the triumphs, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 triumphs over say 4 trials. Definitely more things to be triumphant about this year than to feel trialed on. I'm super proud at looking back over all I've achieved this year and all I've done. And it's been an absolute hell of a lot in between what I've gone through personally. Patting myself on the back here. How to thrive in 2025. So I'm not sure if you've noticed, but I've been noticing a lot of less is more talk for 2025. And it used to be, work faster, work harder, work smarter. And these were kind of things that I was telling myself. But the messages showing to me on social media and the like seem to be less is more. It's not a new concept, but perhaps so in a workplace. And it's one I'm adopting this year. This is the mantra in 2025. Less is more. Something new to me and something I'll practice is working for 25 minutes at a time and then having a 5-minute break. And apparently this resets the brain and produces more productivity. So I recently learned about the Pomodoro technique, and it was coined by, I hope I'm going to say this right, Francesco Cirillo in the 1980s. And it's a technique centered on good time management skills with periodic breaks in between small sessions of focused work. And it's all about focus. And the name comes from Francesco timing the sessions using a timer shaped like a tomato, and the Italian word for tomato being Pomodoro. So the technique aims to keep our minds more focused and fresh. And I don't know about you, but being a single mum of 2 girls now and with so much competing for our time, energy and attention, I can only see the benefits, to helping us finish projects more efficiently. So working for 25 minutes and having a 5-minute break apparently resets the brain and produces more focus. And I'm usually get carried away sometimes. I'll be on one task and I might think of another, and sometimes I'm jumping all over the place. So yeah, this will be good to see if I can focus my mind a bit more. So it works like this. You choose a task, set a timer for 25 minutes, focus on that task without interruption, and when the timer goes off, take a 5-minute break. Each 25-minute work session is called a Pomodoro, and after completing 4 Pomodoros in succession, take a 30-minute break. So there's a great article I read on a faculty development site, which I'll link to the show notes, about this technique and why it works for some writers, but not all. So the blank page played a big part in this, but it's noting, this is what this article notes. It's writing is not just always sitting, typing the words out. It's thinking, it's plotting, it's character development, it's dreaming, it's researching. It's not always just doing or editing or, movement. There's thought process in there as well. And that took a lot for me to get my head around in many years back, that you don't have to just be sitting at a desk typing for you to be achieving in your manuscript. So, a lot of tasks and actions make up a whole to get to the end of a writing project. I love how in this article, the author talks about celebrating every Pomodoro effort. So it's worth having a read of this if you're interested. So celebrate every 25 minutes. Celebrate every 25 minutes. Why not, eh? You might feel pretty good after it rather than waiting for the end after. Each milestone is a milestone, so every 25 minutes, just woohoo! Personally, it's been one of the biggest years for my personal life, as mentioned in the Lessons Learned in 2023 and What's in Store for 2024 podcast episode from last year. So I briefly mentioned my separation and single parenthood. This year has been even more difficult. Navigating my marriage ending and helping my children adjust to their new life has been one of the most emotionally trying and difficult times of my life. And on many occasions, I've had to pull my focus from my book business to deal with the needs of others and what is required of me to help get me through, certain situations that have been cast upon me. As hard as things have been moving on from what was, to what is meant to be, I'm definitely in a much better position than last year, and the future looks way brighter than ever. So one very big reason for this is, without even trying or looking, I have fallen in love hard with an extremely wonderfully special, amazing man who I could fill up a million podcast episodes gushing about. He's a friend who I've known for a very long time, and he's always been there, you know, right in the front of my eyes. Now it seems to be our time together, to be together. Not way back in our 20s when we were just silly. So from falling for this man, I've learned that all the cliches are true when it comes to love. It happens when you least expect it. You know, what's for you won't go by you. True love conquers all. What has been a very trying mixed bag of emotions this year ends with a huge smile across my face because of this man and the future I see us having together. I want to say he is my happy ending, but he's actually my beginning to having eternal peace and love. So it's a good thing I've entered the romance writing genre, because I could fill up pages with this love stuff, if you can't already tell. So how am I and my writing business, I'm now calling it a writing business as the aspirations I have for 2025 are not solely around book writing anymore, but other writing projects too, and outsourcing writing income to help support my family. Because ultimately this has been my goal undertaking this career from the beginning, you know, making money, because this is my job and it's just me now. So the things I'm going to focus on to thrive in 2025 are the less is more mantra. I will commit to one book writing project this year, and this is the second in my women's fiction series, The Lawyer, The Singer and The Server. So I plotted most of it apart from the ending at the end of last year. So now I have revisited the plot in the last few days and started writing. January to March is the timeline for this project. It's my prediction from writing to finished product, meaning, you know, publication. Stay tuned. I'll be sharing my process, of course, on the podcast and on social media. So I already have a couple of speaking gigs booked in for this year, an author talk on discovering the power of podcasting, and that's Wednesday the 12th of February 2025. That's at Nedlands Library. If you're around in Perth and Nedlands, and on that day, the event will run from 10:30 to 11:30. And so you can learn how to use podcasting to expand your reach, connect with readers, and build a loyal audience. And we'll explore everything from starting your own show to being a guest on others, and how this platform can boost your brand, sales and visibility. So whether you're a seasoned author or just starting out, this session will show you how to harness the potential of podcasting to grow your writing career. So I'll let you know when you can book a spot for this very soon. There's also an online course through the Romance Writers of Australia I'm conducting, which will get announced shortly, as well as a once-off seminar mid-year. And I have some super exciting news about my first in series, Women's Fiction, The Writer, the Hairdresser and the Nurse. So in hindsight, it appears to already be shaping up to be an amazing year. And I'm not making any goals like I want to earn this much or sell this much or write this much. Instead, less is more. Committing to less, blocking out noise, taking in less. One writing project, one book promotion, and then I'll perhaps reassess mid-year. So I'm all about hybrid, having it all, but as a single parent now, I certainly struggled to do it all this year. I felt less like I was chasing my tail, which is a positive from the many years before, but I want to learn more about, you know, AI tools or just support tools in general, of how I can use them to help me do less, using them to achieve more and sticking with the mantra. So that doesn't mean I'm going to use it to write my books or publish my books or do anything like that. I'm talking about using these tools in a way to run my business and just pick up the slack, you know? There's a whole load of things that these machines can do to take away jobs from us, to help us. And I want to learn a lot more about that for myself, really. So the one goal I do have is to read more and more widely. And that's already kicked off with a fiction book. I am currently reading The Disorganization of Cecilia Stone by Emma Young. And I'm reading a non-fiction book, although I don't know if you could call it non-fiction. It's kind of like a diary style, like Emma's book. And it's about a bookseller. I haven't got it in front of me, unfortunately. But I'll be talking about that because it's really cool. And I'm also starting to read movie scripts and television scripts. So I'm currently reading The Village by, I'm going to say his name wrong, I always call it M. Night Shyamalan, but I don't think that's how you say it. So yeah, just different formats, different sort of varieties, things like that. The Hybrid Author Podcast in 2025. I absolutely love podcasting so much, and I get a lot out of it, but I also put a lot into it, which now, in my current situation, I'm a sole earner supporting 2 children. The podcast has to be financially accountable for me to keep putting in the time to keep the podcast running as a way to help support myself and my kids. So evident changes you can expect going forward for this podcast is weekly episodes will now release on Sundays instead of Fridays. And the look of the episodes are going to change from sort of still audio posts to more kind of videos or reels. And finally, after 3 years, the podcast is now entering the pay-to-play arena, which means I will now be charging for my time to create, interview, edit, and produce and promote guests on the podcast. So I also have some advertising opportunities available. So if you're interested in any of these opportunities to promote you and your work, you can pitch me at joanne@hybridauthor.com.au with your name and podcast episode idea. Again, not just anybody will be taken. There is a sort of review submission process, and I will be making announcements on social media soon that I am open for pitching, because the next podcast batching is going to be in February. So by now, some of you may have kicked off the new year like me, starting as I mean to go on. And that was waking up early, sober and fresh, and working the first day of the new year. There was no wild partying, and this was really important to me because exactly that, I wanted to start as I meant to go on. But for you, you may still be holidaying or, taking things easy, still on break or leave from work and enjoying a relaxing retreat into 2025. And that's okay. For whatever you choose to decide, for however you make this year work for you, it's up to you, because your you is different from my you, if that makes sense. But if last year taught me anything, it's that a lot can happen. A lot of unforeseen life items happen, and a year may not play out as we planned. And it can also be full of wonderful surprises that you didn't foresee either, that take you on an entirely different path. And it can also provide absolute clarity that something is for you or is not for you anymore, and you must adapt to move forward with the new you. So I want to thank everyone who's listened to the podcast from the very beginning, or if you've just joined or tuned in and out over the years. Thank you to all 2024 podcast guests, and just a general shout out to every author trying their best to have whatever they deem a successful career. 2025 is going to be your year. Woo! So there you have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed that lessons learned in 2024 and how to thrive in 2025. January on the podcast is all about the podcast's overall message being life is too short to wait. And to kick off is John Walker-Patterson next time on the Hybrid Author Podcast. And John and I chat on overcoming the shadows, triumph, vulnerability, and inspiring through memoir. I wish you well in your author adventure this year and next week. That's it from me. It's bye for now.
That's the end for now, authors. I hope you're further forward in your author adventure after listening, and I hope you'll listen next time. Remember to head on over to the Hybrid Author website at www.hybridauthor.com.au to get your free author pass. It's bye for now.